As you look at various tokens, do you see challenges in investing in utility versus security tokens, especially considering some of the legal ambiguity that still exists in India?
Well, there are some legal challenges, but to be honest, even though all these big high-profile ICOs, they clearly say that U.S. investors are not allowed to invest, but nobody knows. I mean, you can always invest in these ICOs, and nobody's gonna stop you from doing
Well,
that.
not necessarily. Not if you're looking at using CoinList and
Yeah.
platforms that are a little bit more compliant with regulatory requirements or potential best practices, right? So, yes, that's probably where it started,
Yeah.
but it's moving towards something that is more um, acceptable as far as regulatory
So
concerns go, right? In terms of KYC and things like that. A lot of people, especially when you're participating in a pre-ICO, you need to provide KYC documentation nowadays.
yeah, so but then again, there are these groups, as I said, so all there are these insider groups where the company might be registered in somewhere, or you form a syndicate and you buy your funds through that. So there are like groups like that who are registered maybe from Cayman Island or somewhere, and you become a part of those insider groups in Slack, Telegram, and they buy the coins for you and they distribute it among yourselves. So
So you're trusting somebody else to handle that. I think
yeah.
Rishabh has something to add to this. So let's hear the legal expert tell us uh, who's coming knocking on your door in the middle of the night in black suits.
So that's the regulator. We are coming to save you. So okay, so you know, this is something which, because much of this ecosystem is very informal, a lot of times these measures will work. But if we especially talk about the U.S. securities laws, I mean, admittedly, I'm not an expert on U.S. securities laws, but there is something called, in US securities law, something called a foreign issuer. And if in effect that company, whether by these sort of vehicles, is issuing securities to US residents or US citizens, it's the same risk that it is again getting exposed to. So the fact that, on a medium term to a long term strategy, if you can't have an entire, it is true that you can't have an entire jurisdiction locked out, but if it is a locked out, I think it's very important to respect that lockout. If you don't, as a community, not want that company, to get into these sort of regulatory troubles where the entire ICO is being locked
So
down.
skirting the law
Like honestly,
could invite additional regulation just because too many people are skirting the law and the regulators realize that. Sandeep wanted to add something to this.
So, as an investor, I would suggest that you guys look at coins that are being compliant nowadays, because if you look at what happened about 2 months back, so many of them had to give their funds back, right? So you would not want, and then one of them disappeared as well. Yeah.
small amount of
Right? Yeah, but still, I mean, it's still money, people's money, right? But what I'm saying is that we're going to run our ICO in February, so we are already talking to Ontario Securities Commission. We are talking to MAS in Singapore. We're talking to the SEC via lawyer in US. One of the good things that regulators are doing right now is that they're giving you sandboxes, right? So MAS has a sandbox now to run
Not
your
the
ICO.
US government.
Pardon me?
The US government is not giving you any sandboxes.
No,
to
no,
play
no.
in.
US government is not giving a sandbox, but Abu Dhabi and MAS from Singapore are giving you sandboxes, right? So that's, if you see some of the ICOs, like one of them running right now is Phenom, right? They've got some terrific products. I'm sure some of you guys may be using TabTrader. That's by them, right? So those guys are completely, regulated. So I think those are the things that you should probably look for when you're investing as well, to see how compliant they are.